What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Ropp Star Report. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor before you come in here. Make sure you smash that like button like it owes you money. Hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. The wonderful thing about Roundtable Sports and joining them is you get to get introduced to other content creators who are awesome. And they love doing the same thing you love to do, which is talk about your football team, good, bad, or ugly. And man, I got a special guest on tonight. We've got Ben from the Sports Talk, Denver Sports Talk. There he is, right there.
What's good, Clay? How you living, man?
Good. I mean, you're living better than I am, based off, your team. And it's a tough time to be a Carolina Panthers fan right now. I actually passed probably since David Tepper took over. It's been a tough time. So
yeah, man. I mean, y'all got Steph Curry still reps you. That's a plus, right?
Right. I mean, well. He also got burned on ESPN by Scott Van Pelt when he was just like, good luck with that. So
I saw that. But nothing was bad. Like it's still not the low point. The low point was Cam Newton not going for the fumble when the man, the myth, the legend, Von Miller
right. You had to bring me back with some PTSD, didn't you? Just a little bit.
The wild thing for me, man, is like as a Denver native, the first football game I went to as a middle schooler and fell in love with this team was a 34-0 drubbing of the Carolina Panthers. Probably before you were even born, 97. No, you were born. Okay.
I was born in 92.
Okay, cool. You're not that much younger than me then. That's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, I don't know. Like I know Carolina's been a good team, but they've never been a hard matchup for us,
Right. We've never been good in Denver, against Denver, and in Denver. It's never worked out in our favor. It's always, I don't know. It's weird because like Carolina's like, and this is the thing that I think is so weird in Carolina now. We've been spoiled. Like for so many years, we've been spoiled. We were spoiled by Cam.
Yeah.
But we were even spoiled before that, if you think about it, because this team's always been competitive. This team's always been in the fight somehow, some way. They might not have a winning record, but there was still some fight in this team. And now it's like defense is decimated, which has always been the backbone of the Carolina Panthers, right? The defense has always been the backbone of the Carolina Panthers. And now it's atrocious right now. It's atrocious. Bad communication, no adjustments, no answers. And we'll get more into that as of right now. But, it's like for Denver, Sean Payton comes in. Y'all had, Russell Wilson, that whole ordeal, and the trade didn't look good. And then it's kind of seems like it's kind of just phased itself out a little bit. Bo Nix comes in, and we'll talk more about him. But, Denver seems to be heading in the right direction right now.
Oh, yeah, man. And especially when you think of all the preseason rankings, they were saying the Broncos over-under win total for a hot second there was like 4 wins, and it jumped up and settled at 5.5. And the Broncos are going to hit 5 this week. And that's what everyone who actually follows the Broncos and hears Sean Payton, they knew this was coming. They knew that once he got a quarterback who could run his system, our defense, a lot of people were just using last year's total metric to predict our defense sucking. And you got to remember that we had the 70-20 drubbing to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
And we let the Washington Commanders drop 40 on us. And after those 2 games, we cut Randy Gregory and Frank Clark. And from that point on, we were a top 7 defense, and we won 5 games in a row, like 1 in Buffalo. We beat the Chiefs. So I love it right now just because, like, we're going to make the playoffs, and everyone thought we were going to be the worst team in football, and that's just a really fun place to be as a sports fan,
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't, during the off season, I do a lot of draft content. So because I keep up with the, college football, so I do a lot of mock drafts and break down game film and stuff like that. So Bo Nix was not one of my top guys. I saw a lot of sporadic footwork, a lot of in-air throws. not stepping in the pocket under pressure. So and that was a lot from his game film, and a lot of it had to do with really more of his Auburn days, and then really in Oregon, and he kind of still had those issues, but really he's kind of come around to be at least serviceable right now as a rookie, right? Yep. Very, very serviceable. But before we get into him, I want to bring out an interesting here. So the Panthers history with the Broncos. Let's just point this out here. They are 2-6 against the Broncos, and of course, Ben came on and had to bring me some PTSD. The last time I think the last time we played was the Super Bowl. No.
Yep.
Oh, that's the last time we played. And the Denver's on a roll. Y'all had a little bit of a shaky start, but Sean Payton's got the show running. So how does the AFC West look like right now for you guys and then the rest of the teams?
Yeah. So I think obviously we're super discouraged at how good Kansas City looks because Patty Mahomes hasn't even started playing good ball yet. And actually Bo Nix's number of touchdowns, incompletions, touchdown interception ratio, Bo Nix is outplaying Patrick Mahomes, yet they still have not lost a game. You know, they lose Pacheco, they lose Rashee Rice, they lose Hollywood Brown. The list goes on and on. They find ways to win. So it feels like they're almost uncatchable at this point. Like I think we would have to beat them both times, which is going to be a tough task. And then they have to, you know, they have a stretch where they play 3 games in 10 days because they play the first ever Christmas game on a Wednesday. So I'd be furious if the NFL gave me that kind of schedule. You know, like there's no way the most injured team in football has to play 3 games in 10 days. It doesn't seem fair. But that's an uphill task. Beat them twice and hope they lose again. So they're kind of uncatchable. The Chargers, we played them, and on the first play on defense, Patrick Surtain had a concussion and he went out.
Yeah.
And Vance Joseph just like panicked and completely changed how he played defense the rest of that half. Mm-hmm. And they went up quick on us like 20-0, or actually 23-0, and then we rattled off 16 straight. They didn't move the ball again after halftime. And really, I think if we'd gotten one more quarter, we would have beat the Chargers. So I'm not worried about the Chargers. They finished last in our division last year. And then y'all beat the Raiders. So you know what they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be hard to win this division just because it's going to be hard to catch Kansas City, but who knows what'll happen. I think a wild card berth is what we're shooting for. And I think it's really achievable, man.
Yeah. All right. I love it. I love to hear it. I love it. I you know, I think that's, you know, after what y'all went through with Russell Wilson, I'm kind of glad to see that you guys, because there's no beef here. You know what I mean? Like I can care, you know, it's a total, you're the only other side, right? It's like, we don't need to worry about them unless we meet them in the Super Bowl again. Right. You know, obviously regular season game right now, but it doesn't matter for Carolina. Right.
Who is your, like, is it Tampa or like, who do you guys hate the most there?
I would probably say it's between Atlanta and New Orleans. I would say those are the two. Like, I think Tampa, we dislike them, but it's like, I think there's more hatred between the Falcons and the Saints.
Yeah,
for sure. I feel it more from them too, the Falcons and the Saints, more than I do the Buccaneers fans. I feel like Buccaneers fans just petty us.
Yeah. You know? And so, how did Sean do against you when he was at New Orleans?
Oh, Sean's probably, I want to say he's at least above 500. I want to see it's either 50-50 or above 500. I'd have to look it up. I'm not really too sure. I know he's got a decent record with us, but I mean, he hates us.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And I honestly think this is going to, some people right now are saying it's going to be close to what they think, but we'll break that down here in a little bit more. But no, Sean definitely dislikes us. And that's why, you know, once we get into all the previews, final predictions, I'll let you know how I feel. But let's start off with that offense of yours. All right, let's break down the offenses. I'll break mine down. But let's start with you first. What have you seen from Bo Nix that tells you that? And obviously we can get into the rest of the offense, but I really want to start with Bo Nix. What do you see from Bo Nix that tells you this guy is it? Like, do you see that, or is there?
Oh, yeah, man. I believe I'm gonna get a Bo Nix tattoo. My phone is full of shirtless pics of Bo Nix. I don't have them up right here, but like I'm a hardcore believer, dude. He is from the draft, and same as you. Like I didn't. He wasn't my guy going in it. I wanted it to be JJ McCarthy, and that is because Sean Payton, George Payton, all of our ownership were leaking to the media that they wanted JJ. They came out afterwards and said, haha, we just joked, like jokes on all of you. We knew after Bo Nix's 12th throw at the pro day that we wanted him. And so I think it's like Sean Payton, his almost like braggadocious attitude about how much he wanted Bo that initially made me be like, have my, hat behind him.
Mhm.
And it's interesting you said that about footwork, man, because that's our biggest criticism of him still. So if you watch, we just played Thursday night, so we've had a
Right.
10-day little rest here. And there was
Yeah.
a play where he had Troy Franklin wide open in the end zone and then Lucas Kroll wide open, and he would have walked in the end zone, and they were probably 30 yards apart. And he put the ball literally right between the two dudes, like overthrew one, underthrew the other. And you're like, what is that? And when Bo Nix doesn't hit his first read, his footwork is not good. When he plants on his back foot and the ball comes out, he is insanely accurate. But it's like when that first read's not open, he starts dancing a little, and he's
Mhm.
throwing off a right foot instead of a left. And so I think that'll continue to clean up. I think the reason I feel confident about him is like he is just such a great leader.
Mhm.
And it's like Peyton Manning and Tim Tebow had a baby, and I don't know, like a beautiful baby that I just want to hold in my arms. You just don't see him rattle. Our first game was in Seattle, and I was nervous for him, and I probably was more nervous than he was. Like it didn't shake him at all. And,
Mhm.
and then what he's doing now as a designed runner reminds me a lot of like a less physical Josh Allen, but a faster Josh Allen. He has some of the fastest times clocked on those Amazon advanced analytics. Like he's hit 20 miles an hour a couple times, which is faster than any non-wide receiver
That's
or
crazy.
running back. And yeah, so we saw him. He had popped off 75 yards running RPOs. And Josh Allen early on, before he learned to be accurate and the game slowed down for him, it was all about that, using the run to pick up
Mm.
first downs and let the game slow down for you. So that's when I kind of knew.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he looks like, from being the 12th overall pick that he's kind of starting to find his footing, right?
Yeah.
Like the stats are solid. Yeah, I was looking at him earlier, 61.2% of and I got him pulled up right here, 61.2% percentage over 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions over the past 7 games. Yeah, you watch his game film, he's damn hard to sack,
Yeah.
right? He's only been dropped maybe like 9 times this
Yep.
season. So, and he's got the 3rd lowest sack rate. So that's going to be a huge issue for Carolina because, right now we don't have any we don't have any pass rush right now. The biggest thing for me is not really Bo Nix. It's your running back field, and let's start with them. Give me your thoughts on like what I can expect from Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin.
Yeah. So Bo, it's weird because coming into the season, a lot of people were saying that Javonte was a cut candidate going into the season because we had this cat named Samaje Perine who's now playing for Kansas City Chiefs and
Right.
looks great there. We went out and got this guy named Audric Estime who looks like the Incredible Hulk
Notre
from
Dame
Notre
boy.
Dame. Yep,
Yep.
exactly. And then we have Jaleel who reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs. He hasn't popped off like that, but he is so fast, dude. Just
Yes.
a huge change of pace back. And so we were like, man, we're not going to be able to carry all these running backs. And Javonte, his rookie year, Bill Simmons was talking about him on his show, Ryan Russillo, like he was a national story. And then he had a ACL and MCL that everyone says like that's a 2-year injury, that it's not a 1 year. And so this is like the second full year he's coming off of that. He lost 11 pounds in the offseason. And he was coming on kind of slow, but then as of recent, he's looked like old Javonte. And our offensive line is the highest paid offensive line in football. We just went out and gave the bag to this guy who's got this huge belly named Quinn Miners, just
Yep. Yep.
a mauler, dude. And he was the guy that during COVID he couldn't go to combines and stuff, and so he released footage of him like blocking trees and shrubbery with his shirt off, and Broncos drafted him, everyone else laughed at him, and now he's an all-pro.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so, yeah, I think we'll open up holes. against anyone. I think that's how Sean wants to win, is like run the ball. And we had him have over 100 yards on Thursday night, and then the last one got called back for a bogus hold way after the play actually happened. So he only had 88 yards, 2 tugs. Bo Nix had 75 yards. Jaleel popped off for 40. And honestly, I think you guys are better than the Saints. Like, the Saints are a dumpster fire right now. So in that way, like, I don't think we'll run the ball quite as well as we did against them, but that will be our goal, is like,
Ben, you're gonna make me blush if you keep telling me that, because
you're better
you know,
than the Saints. Dude, the wild thing for me that has me nervous is that the
do you
Vegas
feel like
Raiders,
this is a trap game a little
I
bit?
kind of do, man. And the only thing that gives me confidence is, like, if Sean actually hates you guys, that he'll like
Well,
hype
he
them up
does.
and be like, I hate these guys, like, they're good, and he won't take his foot off the gas. But the NFL is any given week, man. And part of me, and I said it on my video today, there's a part with, like, everyone is like laughing at Young now or whatever, but he was a consensus #1 overall draft pick, and he
Mhm.
just had his biggest nightmare happen to him already, right? So, like, that's the thing you're dreading all, like, your whole career is like, I don't want to get benched. I don't want to get benched. And it could, like, make you pucker up that sphincter. Well, he's
Yeah.
now had the worst thing that'll ever happen in his life happen to him. And now he has another shot with no pressure, because I think he just goes out and balls out of control. It's like if you have a fear of heights and someone just throws you at the top of a roller coaster and you look down and you're like, oh, okay. And now I can do that again. And part of me wonders if you'll start to see that from him now. And so I do think this could be a trap game. You guys beat the Raiders the week after they beat a Super Bowl contending Ravens team. So I don't think it's a layup by any measure.
Yeah, the problem right now is Carolina is just depleted. Like,
Yeah.
we're depleted with injuries. Like, and I actually want to pull this up real quick, Ben, because here's the injury report for you.
Oof.
And and it's a long list. So obviously, obviously, I'm a little bit of a speculation type of guy, a little bit. I think this whole Andy Dalton thing, right thumb, whatever. I kind of feel like it's a little bit of BS.
Huh.
That's just me, just because I know it's an accident, but I think this is them. This gives them a reason to put Bryce back in.
Mm.
All right. But besides that, I mean, you look at Dane Jackson starting third string corner out. Basically, should be our nickel guy, but he's not. They've been moving him and Mike Jackson on the outside, on opposite side of JC Horn. Got Deontay Johnson out. A part of me thinks he's out just because they want to trade him.
Dude,
Because
the
there's
Broncos have talked about him and Thielen.
right. Yep, they've been in conversations. They've been in conversations. Like, it's a lot of rumors. Like, right now, it's so you look at this the injury report. You got Ashawn Robinson, our starting defensive end. You got Nick Scott, which, I mean, he's really not our starter safety, but Jonathan Brooks, which is obviously who we drafted, but he's been out with ACL. Claudin Churlis, basically a undrafted free agent slash practice squad player who's supposed to be filling in a middle linebacker. Jordan Fuller, our starting safety. Josie
Oof.
Jewell, you all know about
He's my
Josie Jewell.
boy, dude. And I was so mad you guys picked him up, but he's been hurt most of the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's been most basically since week 2.
Yeah,
Week 2.
I remember before the Bears
He
game.
had he has a hamstring and a groin.
Oof. I have a groin, but I have a groin, but not an injury.
Yeah, I feel that.
Okay.
Right. And then you got Taylor Moton, our starting right tackle. It sounds like he's going to play. And Josh Nishman, who's been basically a swing tackle. Jonathan Radigan, this guy's coming off the practice squad. They moved him up. Jadavion Sanders has been, basically our starting tight end since Tommy Tremble's been down. He's still questionable. Adam Thielen out. DJ Wanham, his crazy story with blood clots in his biceps or quadriceps. Crazy story there. Jadeveon Clowney, he might be on his way out. There's already been rumors that the Buffalo Bills are coming for him.
Wow.
Yep. Jaden Crometti, our 6th round pick this year. Sam Franklin's he had a foot. Jamie Robinson, knee. Raheem Blackshear, good. Eddie Pinheiro, fine. But it's just a long list.
Yeah, that's huge, dude. And you go down to ours. It sounds like the only guy we'll be missing is PJ Locke, definitely. He's actually one of my favorite safeties in the league, but we got a Devon Key who balled out of control in the preseason, stepping up for him. And with all your wide receivers out, that doesn't scare me as much. But dude, Chuba Hubbard has been killing it for me in fantasy.
Mhm.
Then Palczewski has been fantastic, but he was our third string right tackle, and we got McGlinchey back. So I think injury wise, that definitely is in our favor. Coming off a 10-week or 10-day little mini bye, I think is definitely in our favor.
Right. But so yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is like now, since we were talking about the offense and McLaughlin and Javante and Bo, I mean, Carolina's they're going to have to shore up the gaps. Our linebackers, hopefully because Josie might play this game. They said that there is a possibility that he could play, which would be huge because that would benefit Trevin Wallace, our rookie, who's actually been a great third round pick. I wasn't very high on him when we drafted him, but I think he's like one of the top tacklers in the NFL right now. And he's a rookie, third round pick. So we definitely got to fill those gaps to slow down the run game. Obviously, the biggest issue for Carolina is getting pressure, which has been non-existent this year. So obviously getting pressure on a rookie quarterback, as in Bo Nix, it's got to be, we have to do that. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is getting pressure on him and making him fold up. And that's the only way you Carolina on the defense can make plays, and they just haven't been able to do it all year.
What's been is Bryce, does he have it? Like, do you draft a quarterback this year, or have you seen flashes of him where you're like, oh, see, look, he can do it? Or are you like, he's, Jamarcus Russell level bust?
I'm starting to think that he's even worse than Jamarcus Russell. But the reason why, because here's the reason why. Jamarcus Russell, if you go watch his biography, right, and you go learn about him, right, Jamarcus Russell didn't try.
No.
Right?
My favorite story of him was they sent him coaching, like the film of the team for the week before, and he came back and like, hey, what'd you think about it? And he's like, yeah, it was great. And they sent him a blank DVD, bro.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This kid's trying. That's the issue that I have. It's not that Bryce Young's not trying. He's not going out there and not training. He's not. Now, there has been speculation out there that his work ethic is shit, but that's speculation. There's not a confirmed consensus kind of how much of Jamarcus Russell was, right? It's kind of the same thing with like Johnny Manziel. Like, I mean, Johnny Manziel was the same way like Jamarcus Russell was. They didn't watch game film. And this kid sits down, watch game film, he dissects it. He's supposed to have this high IQ, but yet but the actions speak louder than words, right? We see him go out on the field and average 90 yards the first 2 weeks of the season, right? You had all now again, last season, offensive line below 20, 25, right? It's 60 sacks, 62 times. So this kid is probably, we might have ruined him. That's the thing.
62.
Last year, we were he was the second most sacked quarterback last year behind Sam Howell. So here's the thing. Bryce here's the thing. It's like, dude, the Carolina Panthers ruined Bryce Young, or did Bryce Young ruin the Carolina Panthers? That's been the question that a lot of people have been asking. And I'm saying it's kind of combination of both. Here's the reason why. Carolina goes out, gets him, trades away a lot, basically takes a mortgage out to get him, number one. Number two, you have a meddling football owner. You got a GM at the time that really could not scout talent to save his life, could not keep talent here to save his life, and the contracts and the cap space were absolutely brutal. Then you're working with a depleted offensive line. Your starting left guard goes out for the year. Your starting right guard goes out for the year as well, on top of that. And then you're working with Chandler Zavala, who's a third-round pick that basically called the GM and said, hey, man, please pick me. He picks him just because the kid sells him. So then you don't have any wide receivers. It's a bad problem, right? When your best wide receiver is a 32-year-old Adam Thielen, right?
He had
And
1,000
then,
yards, right? Last year?
yeah, the
Yeah.
only one. The other wide receivers you've got, you pick Jonathan Mingo in the second round. He looks like a Terrace Marshall Jr. 2.0, which is basically a nobody.
Yeah.
And then you have DJ Chark on the other side, who's basically his best days was behind him when he was at Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So, and so that's what he was working with on offense. And so, he's just back there throwing ducks and it looks off platform, erratic feet that just can't step up and make the throws. The deep ball accuracy ain't there. It's a whole list of issues, though. But then you get Frank Wright involved, right? If we're going to talk about it, Frank Wright didn't want Bryce. He wanted CJ Stroud. There's plenty of news out there that they wanted CJ Stroud, but David Tepper chose to go with the Heisman Trophy winner because he felt like he could sell more tickets.
Dude, that would be sickening to me if my team did that.
Right.
Oh,
So this is where we are now. So atrocious year, sacked 62 times, no run game, no wide receivers, and basically gets thrown to the wolves. A coach that doesn't want him, and a coach that's not willing to develop him correctly, and nor is willing to switch up the playbook to fit Bryce Young.
Yeah.
On top of that, then you're going back and forth between the head coach and Thomas Brown, the offensive coordinator, of who's going to be calling the offensive plays. So that's all through last year. Now we move on to this year. You go out, you get Dave Canales, you get Dan Morgan. Dan Morgan was already here, the regime before, but really didn't have much of a say because we're starting to see that now. And then Dave Canales, offensive minded, has this whole background, right, of being this QB genius. Look what he did with Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, so on and so forth. First 2 games of the season, the kid throws 87 yards. The next game throws 90. But they redid the whole offensive line because we have the second most expensive one now behind you. And we've actually been in the top 5, top 10 of the lowest pressure rates allowed with the offensive line when it's been healthy. We lost Austin Corbett, but we are getting guys back. We lost Moton for a game or 2, but he's coming back. So other than that, that's the only thing. Brady Christensen has stepped in just fine. And so, the run game's working. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard.
yeah.
You got Deontay Johnson, who's getting open, one of the best separators. And they went out and rebuilt this offense. And the kid goes out here and throws 80 yards, 90 yards the first 2 weeks.
Man, that is brutal. But you have played really tough defenses, dude. Like, look at the Raiders defense. Obviously, they're blowing that thing up now, but when you played them, they were good. I think you've played some tough defense. The Bears have one of the better defenses in football, and you played them well.
Yeah. Well, the thing is Bryce only played the first 2 weeks.
Right.
He played the Saints. He played the Chargers. The balloons.
Oh, how do I get balloons?
If you have a Mac and you go with a peace sign.
I have a Mac.
It's not
Come on. It just hates me, dude.
If you do this, it'll do some crazy light show.
Oh my goodness. What if I take my shirt off?
I don't know.
Let's try it. Are we live? Oh crap, this isn't a pre-record?
No.
Oh, we're live. Okay. I'll keep my shirt on if you guys want me to, or take it off. Let me know in the comments.
But yeah. And so, that's just this, but Dalton's been the one who's been able to put up points on the board. He's starting to make rookie mistakes. He has not looked himself. And obviously, I think that comes with just teams seeing game film. And over time, it's kind of easy to figure out a guy who's been in the league for a certain amount of years, but also a guy who's just been a backup. And I think that was another reason why the Raiders just didn't expect it, because they were kind of probably game planning for Bryce because by the time they switched it, they were already planning for Bryce.
Totally. Yeah, I thought that was odd that you told us so early that it was going to be Bryce again, because that could have been a sneaky advantage for all y'all if you held out on that. But
right,
man, that's I think Carolina. Imagine this world. What if you had DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, and Caleb Williams? Like, is there any way that could have happened?
Yeah. Well, you could have. Well, you did. Here's the thing: you could have. The thing is that you would have. But the thing is if Carolina would have done this correctly, they could have. They could even they could have at least had probably DJ Moore and at least Caleb Williams, or DJ Moore and Jaden Daniels,
Yeah.
or DJ.
My
Yeah,
goodness, dude.
yeah. So there's plenty of what Carolina could have done. It's the fact that you had a meddling owner who has now ruined your team for the past 6 to 8 years.
And throws drinks at fans, right? That's like the next.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for someone to find out if this guy was part of
Epstein's Island.
Epstein Island, or maybe he somehow got a part of like the Diddy parties. I don't know. Like, I just trying to figure.
He doesn't seem like a Diddy party kind of guy. More of an Epstein, right? Like, I just couldn't picture him with baby oil.
Right. That. I mean, I don't know. You never know. Now, or I'm just waiting for someone to slip something in his drink, and then they take pictures of him with like 30 hookers. I don't know.
Well, you can hope.
Yeah.
Could you get anything for Bryce at this point? Like, I think of like the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. I think like a Mike McDaniels or a Shanahan could make Bryce Young good. And you've seen way more of him than I have. So if you really think he's a bust, then maybe they could.
I think he's a bust, but I mean, people, but here's the crazy part, Ben. I've seen guys go away from here and they go somewhere else and ball the fuck out.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, but I just don't see it in Bryce. Now, if he goes to a place like Miami, when you got weapons like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and the key is just to get the ball out quickly on short slant routes, which basically they run half the time anyways. Yeah, it probably does work for him because it's a quick RPO style of offense that Mike McDaniels runs. So I'm sure maybe somewhere like that. LA, the Rams, have him go sit behind Matthew Stafford right now,
and then McVay gets in like that. Yeah,
I mean,
what do you think you could get for a trade for him? Like, what did that? Who was the guy from San Francisco who they drafted and then went to Dallas?
Lance?
Yeah, what did they get for him?
I think they got maybe like a 5th or a 6th round pick for him. But
what would you take for Bryce?
Well, here's the thing. I would take a bag of chips for him right now just because of how bad he's been.
So sorry, man.
Yeah. But here's the thing. We've had multiple teams. There's been multiple sources out there that have said that at the trade deadline, don't be surprised if Bryce Young gets traded. But I've heard that there was a team that offered a 4th round pick. Now, I don't know if that's a future, or I don't know if that is this year's draft. I would take what you can get. I look at this situation as a Josh Rosen 2.0.
Ooh.
That's, you know what I mean? And that's the way I look at it. I don't look at it any different. And it is what it is. And that's where we are. But now this is where it's just like I put it as the title of this live stream, is that the Panthers have to accept the full-blown rebuild, because I think that guys like you're seeing Deontay Johnson sitting out. You've got Jadeveon Clowney sitting out. You've got Adam Thielen's still out. You've got all these guys that are out. I can see where there's a fire sale coming up at this deadline, because they need to rebuild through the draft. Everybody believes that free agency is a way to rebuild. No, you rebuild through the draft, and that's the best way you could do it. And honestly, the first 3 picks in this draft, I feel like, have been very good. I like Leggett. I think he's a guy that can be a good 50-50 ball guy who can go up and get it. He can take all I think the speed's there. He's just got to get a sharper on his route running skills, but he could take the top off that 4.39 speed. He could take the top off. But, again, then you talk about Jadavion Sanders, actually our first 4 picks. I think Jonathan Brooks is going to be a Bijan Robinson-esque type of guy. The way his tape looks, before he tore his ACL at Texas, he already was on pace to break Bijan's records at Texas.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you've got Trevin Wallace right now, I think he's one of the leading tacklers in the NFL as a 3rd-round rookie. And you got Jadavion Sanders, who's actually done very well in this offense as a tight end, which we haven't seen as a vertical threat out of him. And now we are with a guy like him. So, if you could hit on 4 draft picks every single year, you can really rebuild this team the right way. Now, where our defense is depleted, this is where I think Carolina tries to get some more draft capital. They already have 9 picks coming up in this 2025 draft, and I see it to be where it's a 2020 draft where they just went all defense.
Totally. Well, if you think about why the Broncos are, if the season ends today, we make the playoffs and it is hitting in the draft. We tried all those years a free agent guy who's going to come in and save us. We had Teddy Bridgewater, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, like you name it, and it never worked. It works through the draft, and it's hitting on Quinn Miners in the 3rd round, hitting on Jonathan Cooper, who is leading the team in sacks in the 7th round. And you're so right, man, that you got to nail the draft. And so, if you could pick up some draft capital for those dudes. The fun part of the NFL is that turnarounds don't take like the time they do in the NBA or any other league. That you can go from worst to first, and the team who got CJ Stroud are the perfect example of that. Houston Texans, who would have ever guessed that they'd have that push with the 2nd best quarterback in that draft class. So who would you want? Like just tell me it's my boy Shedeur. Keep him out of Oakland or the Vegas for us, please.
Here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of Shedeur for this team.
I'm out of here.
The thing is Dion would not want us. He would deny that in a heartbeat. But if I did get a quarterback in this draft class, it would be between 3 guys for me. And it would be Quinn Ewers, and this is not in particular order. Quinn Ewers out of Texas, just because I think he's a Joe Burrow-esque type of guy. But the problem is he's just as injury prone. Another guy I would look to see if he falls to the 2nd round is Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. I think he's a guy 6'2". I think he's like 232. Big arm, accurate. But I think he's a guy that you would want to sit down. Right, I would get a bridge guy, maybe sign Dalton for another year, have someone just him sit out for a year. And then last but not least, the number 1 guy, and I think this is a hot take, but I think he's going to end up being the best quarterback in this draft class, and that's Drew Allard out of Penn State. 6'5", 238, big arm, accurate, prototypical style quarterback that you're looking for. He's the guy that he can step on the platform and make all the throws. Based off of what I'm seeing in Penn State, he's the guy. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft class. Now, a lot of people are saying I'm crazy, but I honestly, based off what I've seen from tape, he fits the bill.
Wow, man. So not even mentioning the cat from Georgia. Who's the Georgia? I don't watch a ton of college. I just watch Coach Prime. So I love Travis Hunter. But who's the guy from Georgia who everyone's high on?
Carson Beck.
Yeah,
I'm not a big Carson Beck. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people say, I see my chat right now saying Cam Ward. I don't see it. If you go see what Cam Ward's playing against, and that's the thing. It's like the same thing I see with Shedeur. It's like, go look at the talent that they're playing. Go look at the teams. Like, no offense. I think Shedeur is very good. I just think that the arm strength is not there. I think he's accurate as hell. But I just don't think the arm strength that fits what the NFL is looking for. Now, that doesn't mean that can't get any better. He just needs to put more size on. But right now, I just don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering how like NIL changes like how hard dudes work, and like if you've already made the bag, are you going to put in the work of that it's going to take to get that elite arm strength? Because that's a very fair point. It's a lot of not dink and dunk, but the ball just seems to hang in the air, and it doesn't have the zip that you see from an NFL system. It's funny how it kind of does remind me a little of Bo Nix. Like Shedeur is a less mobile Bo Nix in that way, and he's thrown to a lot of wide open dudes.
Right. And that's the way I look at it. That's another thing with Bryce. There's just not enough zip on that ball. That's the biggest issue. There's just not. It's not, and it's crazy. A 36-year-old stiff Andy Dalton comes off the bench and throws for 336 yards. Then he can just zip it, right? And that's the thing that you don't see enough out of these guys is the zip. Like you can see the accuracy, you can see them in all these video, but there's just no. If you don't see the zip, you might need to be questioning. And I question it because we've seen it enough where if these guys don't have that power and that strength coming off that arm, and they're not throwing it, like a damn a baseball, right? It's you have to question the arm talent a little bit.
I mean, you probably can tell I played a little college football. I didn't. I was in marching band. But I was just out. We had some friends over. I was playing in the backyard with my son, and we were just the two dads against a couple of the kids, and we were just playing too high safety. And obviously, this doesn't map to the NFL, but it was just funny that, yeah, like they had a wide open dude, but when a little kid is throwing it, and it's not the kid was open when they threw, and it's just you have all time in the world to run and pick it off, and it when you have the Fangio has broke the NFL, which is why Mahomes has 8 touchdowns so far, or less than that, even 6 maybe, because NFL's changed and you need that Josh Allen rocket arm to beat that system, you know? So I think that's a really good take on your part that, yeah, you need to see that ball popping out of a dude's hand or you don't even sniff
Yeah,
him,
you don't see that thing. It's like, think about it this way. Go watch a guy like Brett Favre throw it. You talk about a guy who had zip. That guy had more zip than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
Have you even heard of John Elway? I mean, John Elway, like, would
but I would say
his hands.
Yes, but like not like Brett Favre. I'm sorry. Like
you probably just got some Brett Favre text messages, pictures of him.
No,
and
Brett Favre literally threw it like 99 miles an hour one time. Like they clocked it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. For
so
football.
It's like, no, but John Elway, don't get me wrong, definitely has some zip. Like he did, but he was more accurate than Favre. But Favre was more of the gunslinger than Elway. So to that point, yes. But man, we got a little off track, but it's okay.
Sorry,
it's great conversation. I love it. Let's get into this. Let's get into your defense. Obviously, the biggest word for me is Patrick Surtain. An absolute stud, a guy that we could have had. We actually picked JC Horn over him, you know. But yeah, break down this defense for me. What can Carolina expect?
It is the best defense, full stop, since the Super Bowl we beat you guys in, and it's all over the place, man. So not only is Patrick Surtain the best corner in football, and I don't think that's even a debate.
I don't disagree with you.
And a lot of people say it's Sauce, but like, man, Surtain's just a great leader, and he's not a me first guy. Like you just see the body language of Sauce and taking knees on the middle of the field and pulling himself out of games. And I'm just so glad we have Pat Surtain. So he locks down one side, and then we went out and got this cat out of Iowa, the Great White Hope, Riley Moss, and he's actually PFF's second highest ranked corner in football right now, even though he's been cornerback number 1 the past 2 weeks with Surtain out with a concussion. And so Vance Joseph, our defensive coordinator, has led the league even over Brian Flores in cover 0, meaning like, hey, I'm sending the house and trusting these two guys on an island, and they have been up to task against DK Metcalf, against Pickens, against Mike Evans. You know, we mollywopped the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Godwin was healthy and Evans was healthy there, and they had nothing all day because those guys were locked down. I think before Surtain's injury, he had held the top wideouts in football to under 100 yards throughout those first 5 games, and it's just nasty work. So it all starts, I think, with our corners, and then we've got a platoon of edge rushers, starting with Jonathan Cooper, who's just been balling out of control. We haven't had a 10-sack edge rusher since Bradley Chubb before COVID. Like 2019. Do you remember? Did you guys have COVID in North Carolina? We had it in Denver.
Well, I actually live in South Carolina.
Okay.
And but yeah, we had COVID, but it wasn't like other states.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a 10-sack dude, and we're on pace now to have 4 of them. And so you look there, Jonathan Cooper, just nasty off the edge. 7th round steal that from Ohio State, probably should have been higher in the draft, but had weird heart palpitations, and so they medically reduced him down there. But there are people saying like he should have been a day 1 pick, early day 2 pick, and to have him drop all the way to the 7th round. And then we have Nick Bonito, who used to, like when we first drafted him, I think out of Oklahoma, he had one move and it was like all speed, and he has the fastest sacks of like the top 3 fastest sacks in the NFL this year are all him. And it used to be that was all he could do, and he's kind of really developed into being able to stop the run now. So that's crazy. Then we got Jonah Ellis, whose dad played for the Broncos for a while. He's got 2 brothers in the NFL out of Utah.
Yep.
He had a sack in his first game. And then we have Baron Browning, who's probably the best of all of them and has had some injury concerns, and he is back and off the IR now. And so we really have 4 edge rushers. We were able to steal John Franklin Myers out of the Jets because they had thought they had Hassan Reddick. And so they're like, oh, we don't have salary cap here for Franklin Myers. And so we were able to get him for a 7th round draft pick, and he's a day 1 starter for us. And then Zach Allen, even before Christian Wilkinson's injury, he is the best defensive tackle in football right now. Does that map out for the whole year? I don't know, but our defensive line is nasty. Yep. And the biggest concern, so our defensive line is nasty, and then we have great corners. The biggest concern has been inside linebacker because Josie Jewell was our boy, and Alex Singleton, amazing. Mm-hmm. They were we called them the Bash Brothers in Denver, and Singleton tore his ACL and has been out the year. And then we lost Josie. And so it's been kind of a real area of concern. But then last week, and I know it was against the Saints, who are garbage, but Cody Barton just balled out of control and was AFC Defensive Player of the Week, had a sack, fumble, a interception return for a touchdown, should have had another interception, all over the place. So it's just I don't know, our defense is the part that I'm just so excited about. And I think we make the playoffs because of this defense.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of sounds like the old Carolina Panthers, honestly. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what we were. I mean, we ran – that's what made Carolina who they were. Cam was special, but Carolina's been more known of their defense. Always have. But I appreciate the insight there on that. But here is where we got to get into Carolina a little bit. And I'm going to –
tell me what y'all are working with there.
Yeah. Not much, I'll be honest. Here's the thing. I'm basically going to say this is that Bryce Young, for me, I want him to just go out there and play free. Just go out there and don't think about it. Don't think about anything else. Just play free. Because the more that he thinks, the more that he goes out there and just overcompensates and that's when he gets in trouble. You can see it in his decision making. That's what he does. He overthinks and he holds on to the ball too long, or he waits till the pocket collapses and then moves out and then tries to find someone open instead of being in the pocket, looking, finding his first, second read. If it's not there, then just throw it away, but just play freely. Go out there and just sling the ball. You have nothing else to lose at this point, right? So that's one thing I have to say is Bryce has just got to go out there and play free. Number 2 is just run the damn ball. Chuba Hubbard has actually been solid. He's currently 5th in the league for rushing yards and averaging over 5 yards per carry. So just give him the rock. And maybe they can grind out some first downs, stop Broncos from spending the entire game from breathing down Bryce's neck, because that's how I'm feeling with that defense that you just explained to me. Another thing on the offensive side of the ball, we just can't screw up. We cannot afford to dig ourselves a grave like we did last week, right? First play of the game, Dalton throws a pick 6. So Bryce just needs to go out there and starts throwing the ball, freely. Don't go out there, throw the ball to your guys or Patrick Surtain. Don't force a ton of turnovers, because if you serve them up on a silver platter, they're going to take them. And Carolina has to play smart than they did last week, or they're just going to be forced to abandon the run game, which has been the reason why we've lost so many games, because we abandoned the run game so early. I think another thing is obviously your corners are going to be locking us down because Deontay Johnson's going to be out. So I'm assuming Patrick Surtain's going to be either on Jalen Coker or Xavier Legette. So we got to use our tight ends in this one. Tommy Tremble, Jadavion Sanders have to get the ball. Jadavion Sanders hauled in last week, 6 catches for 61 yards last game. Tommy Tremble's coming back. He's been iffy in practice this week, but if either one of them is breathing on game day, they better be ready to get some targets. So, I think Jadavion Sanders has got to be a guy we got to get the ball to quickly.
Well, dude, if that's a strength for you, that scares me more because that's been our biggest weakness, and it has been pretty much ever since I remember watching the Broncos is guarding the tight end. Like
Yeah.
we had Kittle set the NFL record for reception yards in the first half of a game against us, and even Brock Bowers, like in that Vegas Raiders game we played, basically house called a gorgeous throw. And so yeah, if you have good tight ends, man, that could be a way to exploit this. Um and then avoiding the turnover thing. Like the Broncos were about to go down 17-0 to the Vegas Raiders, and Pat Surtain had a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown, and the Raiders didn't score again, and we mollywopped them. So I think you're spot on there, that get the ball to a tight end, and then if
Yeah.
you can run the rock and win the time of possession, you can definitely be in this game.
Yeah, but the biggest issue has not really been the offense as much as it has been the defense. Now, granted, our offense in the past couple games have been very questionable, but also in the last game, we weren't putting our defense in the best positions because we had Andy Dalton throwing picks. So with that being said, the defense for us has to stop the run. The thing is Denver's ground game. Y'all's game is not. I don't think your ground game's elite, but it's definitely respectable. Like y'all are sitting, I think 13th in the NFL. You're averaging 124 yards per game, averaging 4.7 yards per carry. That is very, very respectable. You got a great 1-2 punch, like you were talking about with Jadavion Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin. Both of those are combining for, I think, over 450 something yards with over 110 attempts, something around there. But here's the kicker. Bo Nix has been slicing it up with his legs, what you mentioned, right? And I was looking at his stacks. He's racked up over 250 yards.
He's our second leading rusher, which is crazy.
which is crazy. So the Broncos don't really care about focusing on any one rusher.
Right.
And if you're wearing a Broncos jersey and you're on that offense, you can run, right? And you can get the ball. But Carolina's run defense has been a disaster, right? We're dead last in yards allowed per game. We're ranked miserably 23rd in yards per carry. So unless we somehow pull a miracle off, maybe Josie Jewell really wants to play
that, man.
Maybe Josie Jewell really wants to play this game. Maybe he comes back after the limited practice that he did have. Maybe he feels like there's some revenge there for them to trade him away like he did. Maybe he comes out and just absolutely mollywops you guys. I don't know, but it would be an absolute miracle and I would love it. But I just can't say that's going to happen because right now our defensive line is held together with spit and duct tape. So it doesn't hit the ground. I mean, if Carolina doesn't hit the ground running, literally they'll be left eating y'all's dust in this game. So that's the biggest thing for me is stopping the run, or at least try to. Another thing, let's talk about turnovers. Like Carolina has to force some turnovers. Like we have a pathetic 6 turnovers all season long. That is pretty bad for a team that constantly is playing catch up. And so for me, Bo Nix has thrown 5 picks. He hasn't lost a fumble yet. So that's a big fat target for our defensive coordinator, Jared Evero, which you have some familiarity with there. The problem is with this whole ordeal is, like I said, we've got pass rushers who are missing. You got DJ Wanham still out. We're not sure if Jadeveon Clowney is going to play yet. So once again, this pass rush consists of hope and like I said, handful, duct tape, band-aids, whatever you want to call them, right? But if we don't rattle Bo Nix and force a few mistakes, this defense is going to be stuck chasing its tail all day long.
Yeah, and I honestly, man, like he has 5 interceptions. 2 of them were in the first game to Seattle. He threw a couple up. One of them was off a tip ball. That was a catchable ball that wasn't his fault. One of them was a Hail Mary at the end of the game. So I think that's one of the things Sean loves about him. I don't think he'll have a turnover this game, but if Audric Estime gets in the game, you need to just punch at that ball. And Javonte too. Like they both have had the ball on the ground multiple times. I think Audric's carried the ball 9 times and fumbled 3. He's carrying around a pink ball at practice this week, so that's a punch that thing out. And Javante's coughed it up a couple times. That probably cost us that Chargers game when we crossed midfield and coughed it up. He had a fumble against Seattle as well, so that I think he punched the ball out. And Josie was great at that when he was in Denver. So I think if he's back, that scares me. And your tight end exploiting this defense would scare me too.
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't seen enough, and that's been one of the. And Ben, I'll be honest with you, we really haven't seen this much burnout of a tight end until Jadavion Sanders got here. It's been a long time since Carolina's had a true good tight end since Greg Olsen.
Yep.
So hopefully Jadavion Sanders is the guy that changed that. Tommy Tremble has had a lot of potential. He's shown a lot of potential, but on that end from the tight end room, but he has yet to stay healthy. So that's been the biggest issue there. Last but not least for me on my end for the defense is that can this secondary finally catch a break? Like, the good thing is that this Panther secondary might actually have a fighting chance this week because, I mean, I'm not a big. Courtland Sutton has not been a bit very. He just doesn't threaten me. He just doesn't exactly. He's not exactly lighting up the league. So to me, I just don't see him as a threat. I actually see Troy Franklin more as a threat than I do Courtland Sutton for you guys. He's a big play guy, but he doesn't lead his own team in catches. That's another thing. Like, you got your running backs who are leading in the team in catches. So, and Sutton's the only receiver with more than 200 yards, but I feel like Troy Franklin's a guy because of the whole Bo Nix connection. That's what's more terrifying to me. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so Troy Franklin was a healthy scratch. People were shocked to even see him get in the game because he was in the press box in his sweats for the first 2 games. They just didn't trust him. He didn't have a great preseason, and then he gets in and he's a baller, man. So for sure, crazy thing with Courtland is he had 0 targets on our Thursday night game. First time I can ever remember that happening, and all of Bo Nix's interceptions were forced throws to Courtland. But I love Courtland. He's had 9 different quarterbacks throughout his time in Denver. He had a horrible ACL injury as well. And just like, he's a wide receiver 1 who's not a diva. And as I watch the NFL, I just love that. But I get what you're saying that, yeah, he's not a Ayuk or a Justin Jefferson or any of those dudes. But in the end zone, there's no player in a jump ball I'd prefer to him. And he's, I think he had 3 of the NFL's best catches of the year last year. And the one he had against the Chargers this year was insane, with 1 knee down and a one-handed grab, like falling out of bounds. So I definitely get what you're saying, but I think, Bo Nix in one game threw to 11 different guys, and I didn't even know that was possible. Like, when you have 53 guys on a team, how are there 11 guys eligible to catch a ball? So he spreads it to whoever's open, and
yeah, I mean, the thing is with Sutton is I think the reason why I don't see him as much as a threat is because I know he's going to be going up against J.C. Horn.
Yep.
And that's what I'm hoping that they square up every damn play. But knowing Ejiro Evero, he has not been able to correct answers to the adjustments of the opposing team's offense. So the lack of adjustments by him has been alarming. We've seen our linebackers going one-on-one like a couple weeks ago against like Atlanta, because I always go back to this because I'm just dumbfounded that we had our linebackers going one-on-one with Drake London. So, and they were just getting absolutely cooked. It's also frustrating to see J.C. Horn just stick on one side of the field instead of him adjusting to the best wide receiver on the field. That's another reason why we got cooked against Cincinnati, because J.C. Horn wasn't staying on Chase the whole time. When he was on Chase was only caught 1 pass for 11 yards. So the secondary is actually coming back to being fully healthy. You got Mike Jackson, you got Dane Jackson, you got the rookie Charles Smith-Wade out of Washington State that we drafted in the 5th round, who's a ball hawk, but he gets too handsy for me. Shamar Bartholomew, who was one of the biggest waiver wire pickups in this draft. So, yeah, but for my secondary, I just need to see them step up, get your guys, locked down, and obviously, create some confusion there. But this is a group that's set up that can do this, but I need to see Evero make the correct adjustments. So, but yeah, that is my preview for us. So, Ben, I'm not gonna take any more of your time. Let's do the final score predictions. What do you got for me? Give me your final thoughts.
Well, bro, you're so cool, man, and fun to talk to, so I can't break your spirits. Can I be honest?
Oh yeah, you can just go ahead
Okay,
and just
and we're
dump it
gonna be
on me.
friends no matter what I say?
Sure.
Okay, so the first football game I ever went to in person was against the Panthers, like I said. Denver Broncos won 34-0. I think that happens again, man. I think I think the Broncos are gonna win big. And I would be shocked if it was 34-0. I could see us pitching a shutout. I think we've been close a couple times, and all the players in the locker room talk about that. So give me 28-0.
Okay.
Are we friends still?
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
Listen. There's no petty. Okay, like I don't want any petty. We're in this situation because of a dumbass owner. Nah, man. I'll say this. I think Carolina. This could be a trap game because I kind of could see where it can be. But I've said that. I said that against Washington. I thought it could be a trap game there. I thought the Bears game could be a trap game. Because of the Raiders game, what we saw, I was like, man, maybe we could be a trap team this year where just we pull out these 5-6 wins that we're really not supposed to win, but that just has not come to fruition. So for me, I can't pick Carolina to win this game. It's just not going to happen. It's not even going to be close. But I'm going to say 31-13 Denver wins.
Cool, man. Well, we'll definitely keep the combo going, and I'm not sure what I'm doing on post game, but it'd be fun to have you on if I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I'll post this on my channel as well, dude. But you're super cool, man, and I hope you can turn it around, get a quarterback, and get that owner out of there, man, because Carolina deserves it, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, Ben, I appreciate you coming on board. I appreciate you being here, and we'll definitely link up maybe this Sunday. So I appreciate your time, man.
All right, you two, leave, baby.
Have a good night. Shout out to Ben, everyone. Appreciate Ben coming in. We got to give him the horn. Shout out to Ben. I really appreciate him coming on, man, breaking it down. We were talking it up, man, talking some ball. There's nothing wrong with having a guy's time and just talking ball all through the night. You know what I mean? Through a Friday night, talking ball with the boys. No, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So appreciate Ben. Appreciate Ben, him coming on and breaking it down with me. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. I see all y'all in here. Jadarius, Dixon, Mad Chatter, Rock Jones, Miss Lassiter. I appreciate everyone in here. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor. Make sure you make sure you like and subscribe here. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you click that post notification bell so you don't miss out any new content. Also, Ben's channel is down in the description of this live stream. Make sure you click on that. Make sure you go and like and subscribe over there. Ladies and gentlemen, I would greatly appreciate that. Guys, I'm going to sign off tonight. It's a Friday evening at 10:04 p.m. EST. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Remember 3 things. Have fun. Be safe. Keep pounding. Peace.